head out to Athens. We got to talk some Bulldog recruiting. UGA big visit weekend as Tennessee comes to town. UGA fans, do me a favor and smash that subscribe button. We're talking Dogs recruiting. All right, Steve, there's going to be some big-time quarterback names in Athens this weekend, starting with Georgia commitment Ryan Montgomery out of Findlay, Ohio. He's going to be back on campus for this one, but so is 2025 quarterback Julian Lewis, who's committed to USC, and then the number 1 quarterback in the 2026 class, Jared Curtis. Big arms in Athens.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is a position of emphasis for Georgia moving forward on the recruiting trail in 2025, obviously in 2026, as they try and keep that room championship caliber for years to come. They have Ryan Montgomery committed, 4-star from Ohio. They're very excited about him, but they want to add more competitive depth to this room in 2025. Julian Lewis is visiting this weekend. Obviously, he is trending towards Colorado on the on-3 RPM. But I think as you look at the way this season has played out for Georgia, and you look at this quarterback room long-term, Gunnar Stockton, Ryan Puglisi are in there. Those are some of the guys that will be battling for the job next year. One of the important factors in Julian Lewis's recruitment is playing early, being a starter, that true freshman season. And I think if you look at the way this season is starting to line up for Georgia, he could see an opportunity where he could legitimately come in and compete for that starting job in year 1. So I think that's an interesting thing to keep an eye on with Georgia moving forward with Julian Lewis. Him coming to campus, he'll get a chance to get around Kirby Smart, Mike Bobo, talk infrastructure and resources, what that would look like for him as a quarterback at Georgia as well. I still really like Colorado a lot. We'll see what happens this weekend for the USC commit on his visit to Georgia. They wanted to bring in Jaron Key Sagapatelli, the Hawaii's all-time leading passer. He's approaching the touchdown record as well. He was not able to come on his official visit this weekend, Josh, because he's got a playoff game. So he's going to be at Georgia next weekend for the UMass game. He's becoming a coveted target down the stretch for the Bulldogs. We'll see if they offer somebody else. And then in 2026, Jared Curtis returns. It's his first visit since decommitting from Georgia. Oregon is the program to beat right now. I saw him when I was in Nashville this week. He reiterated Oregon's his leader, but he is nowhere close to deciding, and this is a recruitment that's been fluid. Ohio State led at one point. Obviously, Georgia did. He was committed. Now it's Oregon doing a great job, but he said he wants to get to his top schools several times before making a final decision. So you have Georgia in there. You obviously have Oregon and Ohio State. He'll be at Ohio State next weekend. Then you have Alabama and Ole Miss. Those are 2 other contenders for Jared Curtis. He's going to go to the Egg Bowl. Then he's going to go to the Iron Bowl. Then he wants to take visits to these schools in the winter and in the spring. We'll see if he takes officials, but he's had a lot of love for Georgia before, and we'll see how returning to campus, what kind of warm and fuzzies he gets getting back around Coach Bobo, Coach Van Gorder, and everybody else.
Yeah, I think Georgia's in a great spot. Despite the decommitment a couple weeks ago, I mean, I think Jared Curtis, he's an innocent recruit. You know, I don't think he fully grasped what was coming in his direction when he made that early commitment to Georgia. And, you know, he probably similar to what he told you. He just wants to take some visits, but Georgia's very much in this thing, even though he's admitting that Oregon's on top right now.
Yeah, he's a country boy that fit in at Georgia. And really, I think him taking visits, he just didn't want to be a quarterback committed to a program, the face of a class, and then go visiting other schools. And it also, every time he would take a visit, whether it was to a South Carolina game, he would call Coach Bobo and Coach Smart and let them know before they found out, you know, through the internet or what have you. And those conversations, look, Coach Bobo, Coach Kirby, they were cool. Hey, man, you get to go through this once. Yeah, go take your visits, but just remember you're a dog. I mean, those conversations are hard still. So now he can take those visits without that phone call hanging over him every time he wants to go see his school again to make sure he's making the right decision.
All right. Also on campus, a bunch of Tennessee commitments. I kind of like this approach here, just kind of pushing the chips into the middle. Georgia is bringing in wide receiver Travis Smith Jr., safety Laganza Shady Hayward, and linebacker Christian Gass. Yes, all 3 of the prospects are committed to Tennessee, and they're going to be sitting in the Georgia recruiting section. Steve, if any of these 3 were to flip, I mean, who are you keeping an eye on here? Who's most flippable out of this group?
Well, all three slated to be there, Josh. We'll see who arrives inside Sanford Stadium on
Well, that's a good
Saturday.
tell on who's flippable.
Yeah, Austin Price, our Tennessee insider, is already reporting that Shady Hayward will not be at Tennessee this weekend, at Georgia this weekend. He's probably the hardest one to flip of the three, in my opinion. Georgia tried to get him to the neutral site game against Florida as well. Now Florida is trying to battle for Laganza Shady Hayward here late in the process as well, but Tennessee certainly has the clamps on that one. As I talked to you guys this morning. Talking to our colleague Chad Simmons a little bit about Travis Smith Jr. this week, and Travis confirmed that he will be at Georgia this weekend, that things are picking up with the Bulldogs here. They already landed CJ Wiley from in-state recently, now to land Travis Smith. Those would be the two most coveted receivers from in-state. We'll see how this weekend goes. And then Christian Gass, I mean, that is a guy that Georgia has been on for as long as anybody. Tennessee did a great job of getting him in the fold, but he has continued to keep Georgia warm. I wrote early in the week that I thought of the three, I would say Georgia would have the best chance of flipping Gass, but maybe, as I continue to work it with our colleague Chad, I would say Travis, but they might not get any of them still. Tennessee's done a great job recruiting those guys.
Absolutely.
Hell, Tennessee might win the game, but Georgia is still in the mix there, still pushing as they put the finishing touches on a class that I think ultimately will finish number one.
All right, Steve, you had a couple more flip targets in your article on on3.com this morning. Who else you watching?
Well, on 300 running back Jamarian Morrow, currently committed to Missouri. He's expected at Georgia this weekend. He was one of the more coveted backs in the SEC, Texas A&M, another program that poured a lot into that recruitment. But Georgia's still alive there. Zach Stokowski is an offensive lineman from Portland, Oregon, currently committed to Washington, Oregon, Michigan, and Georgia, some of the schools he's trying to keep warm there. Obviously, in-state linebacker Tavian Wallace. Georgia hasn't gone away on the Arkansas commit. And then, one other big name not committed anywhere, but on 300 edge rusher Chase Linton, expected back for like his fourth Georgia game of the year. My on 3 RPM is on Georgia there. I think they ultimately land him and get him in the fold.
Yeah, I like that pick. So, Georgia fans, talk to Steve and I. How many points are the Dogs going to win by on Saturday? And also, these flips, which ones do you want? Let us know. Comment section below.